Hello friends, welcome back. In this tutorial we will study an example of first come first serve CPU scheduling algorithm. Now see, here we have three processes P1, P2 and P3, right? And P1 has arrived at time 0, P2 has arrived at time 2 and P3 has arrived at time 9, right? So the arrival time of process P1 is 0, right? And of process P2 is 2 and of process P3 is 9, right? Now the burst time, suppose the burst time of process P1 is 3, the burst time of process P2 is 5 and the burst time of process P3 is 4, right? So what happens, since this process P1 has arrived first, so it will be allocated the CPU first, right? So first the CPU is allocated to the process P1, right? So at time 0, process P1 will start its execution, right? Its burst time is 3, right? So after 3, process P1 will release the CPU, right? And then what happened after, as you can see that after process P1 the process P2 has arrived. Process P2 has arrived at time 2. So what happened when process P1 will release the CPU will be allocated to the process P2, right? Now the burst time of process P2 is 5, right? So this process P2, right, it will be executed up to 5 units of time, right? So after 5 units of time, process P2 will release the CPU, right? So at time 8, right, process P2 will release the CPU, right? Now see this process P3, right, its arrival time is 9, right? Now what happens? Now here the time is 8, so up to the time 9, right, CPU will sit idle, CPU will be free, right? And at time 9, when this process P3 is arrived, CPU is allocated to that process P3, right? And burst time of process P3 is 4, right? So it will this process P3 will keep the CPU for 4 units of time. At time 13, process P3 will release the CPU, right? Now this process P1, it is completed at time 3, right? Process P2 is completed at time 8, right? And process P3 is completed at time 13, right? Now process P1 has arrived at time 0, right? Its arrival time is 0, right? So the turnaround time of process P1 is 3 minus 0, that is 3, right? And what is the turnaround time of process P2? Process P2 has arrived at time 2 and it has finished at time 8, right? So what happens? This process P2's turnaround time will be 8 minus 2, that is 6, right? Now see this process P3, right? It has arrived at time 9 and it has completed at time 13. So its turnaround time is 4, right? Now let us find the average waiting time of these processes. Process P1 has started at time 0, right? And it has arrived at time 0. So the waiting time of process P1 is 0. Now process P2. The process P2 has started at time 3, but it has arrived at time 2. So what happens? Its waiting time is 1, right? Because it has to wait for 1 unit of time. It has arrived at time 2, but it has started at time 3. So its waiting time is 1. Now see this process P3. It has arrived at time 9 and it has started at time 9. So its waiting time is 0. So what is the average waiting time? The average waiting time is 0 plus 1 plus 0 by 3. It is equal to 1 by 3.